Hanabi and Uranus form a powerful and synergistic duo in Mobile Legends, each complementing the other's strengths to create a formidable force in battle. Let's break down why this combination works so well. Hanabi is a late-game marksman known for her sustained area of effect, AoE, damage, and shield, but her early game can be vulnerable as she lacks mobility and escape options. This is where Uranus comes in. As a tank, Uranus is built to absorb massive damage and regenerate health, making him the perfect frontliner for Hanabi. He can zone out enemies, take the brunt of damage, and give Hanabi the space and time she needs to farm and scale up safely. Both Hanabi and Uranus excel in prolonged team fights. Uranus's passive, which allows him to regenerate health based on the number of hits he takes, ensures that he can stay in fights longer than most tanks. Meanwhile, Hanabi's passive converts a portion of the damage she deals into a shield, protecting her from crowd control and further enhancing her survivability. Together, they thrive in long engagements, with Uranus sustaining himself as he absorbs damage, while Hanabi deals consistent damage from a safe distance. Uranus has powerful area control abilities with his Ion Blast and Consecration, which can both slow down and harass enemies. His ultimate, Radiance, allows him to rush into the fray, dealing damage and healing himself, making it difficult for enemies to dive on Hanabi or get past Uranus to reach her. This zoning capability enables Hanabi to position herself comfortably and deal her AoE damage with less risk. In return, Hanabi can capitalize on the chaos Uranus creates with her Petal Barrage, hitting multiple enemies and spreading her damage. Hanabi's ultimate, Higanbana, is a strong AoE crowd control ability that can root multiple enemies if placed strategically. When combined with Uranus's aggressive dive or initiation, Hanabi can follow up with her ultimate to immobilize enemies, creating opportunities for massive team damage or a cleanup sweep. Uranus, with his bulk, can continue to peel for Hanabi, making sure she remains unharmed as she deals out tons of damage. Uranus excels at peeling for squishy allies like Hanabi. His ability to stay alive in fights, combined with his mobility from his skills, allows him to intercept and disrupt enemies attempting to target Hanabi. This protection is crucial in the mid and late game when assassins or enemy frontliners try to dive onto Hanabi. With Uranus acting as a buffer, Hanabi can focus on dishing out her damage without worrying too much about getting instantly deleted by the enemy team. Hanabi's power truly shines in the late game, where her damage scales significantly. By this point, Uranus's ability to stay alive for long durations and disrupt the enemy's backline synergizes perfectly with Hanabi's high sustained damage output. Uranus can continue soaking up damage, distracting enemies, and making them waste abilities, while Hanabi stays in the backline, raining down devastating damage across multiple opponents. In terms of pushing and controlling the map, Hanabi's AoE damage makes her an excellent wave clearer, while Uranus can act as a tanky body to soak up turret damage during sieges. Uranus can lead the charge when taking objectives like towers, while Hanabi clears the waves and hits towers from behind. This balance between offense and defense makes them a well-rounded duo for pushing and securing objectives. For newer players or in situations where perfect coordination is lacking, Uranus and Hanabi are forgiving in that they don't require extremely precise mechanics to work well together. Uranus is durable, and even if the enemy manages to get onto Hanabi, Uranus can recover quickly and re-engage to peel them off. Hanabi, with her shield from damage dealt, also has some leeway to stay alive long enough for Uranus to rescue her. Together, Uranus and Hanabi form a classic tank/marksman duo that shines in team fights, extended engagements, and late-game scenarios. Uranus's ability to protect, engage, and sustain makes him an ideal partner for Hanabi, who needs a reliable frontline to enable her damage potential. This synergy allows them to take control of the battlefield and dominate their opponents, especially as the game progresses. Their combined strengths in zoning, sustain, and crowd control make them a force to be reckoned with in both casual and ranked games. The strategy behind using Hanabi and Uranus in Mobile Legends is all about maximizing their individual strengths and creating an impenetrable front-to-back teamfight dynamic. Let's break down how to effectively use this duo across different phases of the game. At the start of the game, Hanabi is a marksman who requires time to farm and scale into her late-game powerhouse role. This makes her somewhat vulnerable in the early game. Uranus, however, is a tank with strong sustain and mobility from the beginning. The primary goal here is for Uranus to shield Hanabi from early aggression while she farms. He can roam and apply pressure on other lanes but should prioritize protecting Hanabi if the opposing team is focused on her. Uranus should focus on zoning out enemies, making it difficult for them to harass Hanabi while she farms safely. If the enemy tries to engage Hanabi, Uranus can either absorb the damage or use his crowd control abilities to disrupt the enemy's combo. Hanabi's main task here is to focus on last-hitting minions and building up her gold and items as efficiently as possible. Early on, she can use her passive shield to avoid some of the crowd control, giving her a bit more survivability when Uranus is not directly nearby. In the mid-game, both Hanabi and Uranus will have developed enough to start making more impactful plays. Hanabi will have picked up her first major items and will start to deal significant AoE damage, while Uranus becomes even tankier, thanks to his ability to stack regeneration through taking damage. This phase of the game is where Uranus becomes crucial. Uranus can soak up damage and be the first to initiate fights. For Hanabi, positioning is everything in the mid-game. Since Uranus is so good at disrupting the enemy team and absorbing damage, Hanabi should always stay behind him during fights. Uranus can act as the perfect shield, diving into the backline, slowing and disrupting enemies. When Uranus dives in, this opens up opportunities for Hanabi to activate her ultimate to root multiple enemies. The timing of this combo is essential. Uranus's disruption followed by Hanabi's crowd control can completely shift the momentum of a team fight, allowing Hanabi to safely deal damage without worrying about getting focused. This is where the Hanabi-Uranus combo really shines. Hanabi's AoE damage potential is fully realized at this point, while Uranus is nearly unkillable if not dealt with early. The primary role of Uranus in the late game is to soak up damage and dive onto enemy backliners. He should aim to disrupt key enemy carries, forcing them to focus on him, while Hanabi stays in the back dealing consistent damage. Hanabi's role in the late game is to use her range and AoE damage to eliminate threats. By this point, she should be dishing out massive amounts of damage from a distance. If enemies try to dive onto her, Uranus needs to peel for her using his slow and disruption abilities. Hanabi can follow up with her Higanbana ultimate, locking down anyone who gets too close. Another advantage of this duo is their ability to handle split pushing. Uranus is highly mobile for a tank and can often push lanes while the enemy team is distracted elsewhere. If the enemy team tries to collapse on him, he can sustain through the damage and escape with his mobility. On the other hand, Hanabi excels at pushing waves thanks to her AoE attack, allowing them to keep pressure on the map and secure turrets or lord. In the late game, assassins may try to jump onto Hanabi, as she lacks mobility. Uranus needs to act fast to peel for her by positioning himself between Hanabi and enemy assassins. His ability to regenerate and absorb damage makes him perfect for handling these threats, allowing Hanabi to keep her distance and continue attacking. Hanabi's passive helps protect her from crowd control effects, but against heavy CC teams, positioning is still key. Uranus should engage first and soak up as much of the enemy's crowd control as possible, allowing Hanabi to move freely in the backline. With Uranus protecting and creating space for Hanabi to unleash her full damage potential, this pairing can dominate team fights and objectives. The key is coordination, with Uranus initiating and peeling while Hanabi positions herself for maximum damage output. When played correctly, this duo can carry games from early to late stages with relentless pressure and powerful team fighting presence. If you're enjoying these strategies, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss our latest guides. Subscribe now, and let's climb the ranks together.